The first time I ever used a KitchenAid mixer was on national TV on Food Network. Like, how embarrassing is that, right? Like, I really did not know what the hell I was doing. I had my mirror and lip gloss though, so I was at least touching up.
Welcome to Dear Food. My name is Ashley Cheney and I love food. I love to make food. I love to eat food. I love to talk about making food. If it has to do with food, I am there. See, I actually believe that food has the power to transport us, not just to different places around the world, but also to different places within our memories. Whether it's a food that takes you back to your grandma's kitchen or that awesome crepe you had while visiting Paris, food is the great vehicle of our imagination. So, if you find yourself drooling over pictures of food on Instagram or watching hours of cooking shows, this show is for you. I created this podcast to connect with the emotional side of food and to be immersed in new cultures and dishes, not just through our belly, but most importantly, through our hearts. I am so excited to have you here. Let's dig in. Hey everybody, welcome back. We have got a really fun show in store for you today featuring my friend and Food Network's own Louisa Sharamatyan. But before we get into the episode, there's just a couple of little housekeeping things that I want to take care of. First things first, I want to make sure that you are all subscribed to the show. We release a new episode every Friday, and if you're subscribed, it goes right on into your queue. You don't have to do anything, it just automatically shows up, so you don't miss an episode. If you're not subscribed, you have to manually go to the show and look for a new episode every week. So the easiest thing for you to do is just go ahead and subscribe right on Apple Podcasts so that a new episode comes to your queue every week, okay? First things first, easy peasy. Second, I want to make sure that you are not afraid to interact with the show. I can't stress enough, but food is all about community. And so to me, that means hearing from you all the listeners. So whether that's writing into the show at our email address, dearfoodpodcast@gmail.com, or calling our Love Listeners voicemail box and telling us your stories or asking your questions, that phone number, 626-709-6551, or leaving us a review and letting us know what you like about the show, what you want to hear more of. Most importantly, whichever way you want to get in touch, please interact. Your voice means so much to me, and I want you to be just as much a part of this show as I am. All right, that's all the business I had to take care of before we get to jump into today's episode. So like I said, we've got my friend Louisa Sharamatyan on the show today. She and I know each other from AfterBuzz TV. You've heard me talk about this network before, but again, it's Maria Menounos's network that she created with her husband, Kevin Undergaro. And the hosting world for on-camera hosts it's very small. And then particularly if you live in Los Angeles, everybody kind of knows each other. And that's the case for Louisa and I. We met on a red carpet, I think covering the premiere of the show Yellowstone that's on FX, I believe. We just, hit it off. She's a character, as you'll hear on the show. She's just an absolute delight. So when I found out that she was on not one, but two Food Network shows, hello, the foodie in me was like, oh my God, I have got to get her on the show. So I shot her a quick message and she was kind enough to make some time for us because she is a busy, busy woman, as you'll hear all the many things that she's got going on. But so she set some time aside for us to talk all about Middle Eastern food. Louisa is Armenian and, you'll hear by her own admission, she did not grow up in the kitchen. She calls herself an Armenian princess. We liken her to like the Kim Kardashian of the Food Network. She's just a riot. And I think probably the last person that I would think of as, a foodie. So it's really interesting to hear her perspective on how she's grown into this mega food lover, through her experiences on this national stage. She didn't get to learn about food and learn how to cook in the privacy of her kitchen. She had to do it with millions of people watching her on national TV. So her story is super unique, and I'm excited for you all to hear about, what it takes to be on a Food Network TV show and what it's like to go from total novice to being enrolled in culinary school. Okay, I'm not going to give away any more details. Let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Louisa, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
Okay, so we've got to start off talking about this Food Network stint. Can you walk us through what it was like being cast on a Food Network show and kind of what led up to being cast on the show and what the experience was like?
So it's really funny. I was on Facebook and Host in LA had this post about, are you the worst cooks in America or are you the worst baker? I'm like, what is this? Like, this is so me. And at that time I was still doing all my red carpet stuff. And like, I'm very open to all new opportunities. Like, that's just how Hollywood is. You kind of take what comes and, you squeeze every bit of it. So I sent over my stuff. She sent it over to casting and they just love me. I'm just gonna be real. They wanted to have a phone interview with me, a Skype session. So this was for worst bakers, by the way. So this is not even worst cooks yet.
Okay, so you started with worst bakers in America.
I started worst bakers last year. In May.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got on the phone. I did the Skype interview, and we were just talking about me being this like Armenian little princess in LA, not like a Kardashian that can't cook. Like, I can't cook because I just can't. Like, it was always my thing. And I've always been very honest about it. Like, because my mom is a mega cook, and it's kind of like embarrassing in the culture to not know what you're doing in the kitchen. But I always say I'm the modern day Matilda. Like, I always cared about just books and stuff. Like, I never cared for cooking.
Oh.
So I did the interview. They loved me. They're like, okay, we're going to send over your stuff to Food Network right now. Hold tight. It's not in our hands. We're going to wait. And, I got the call a few days later that they want me to join the cast. And I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, they're flying me out to New York, like whole shebang, everything. Like, you're set up in a hotel and like they take care of you like to the dying. Like, it was amazing. So yes, Worst Bakers was incredible. I don't like baking that much. Like,
Yeah, I mean, so your audition, you didn't have to do like a casting tape or anything.
I did that too. I forgot. Oh my God.
Tell me about your casting tape. Because like for any of our listeners who might not know what goes into the casting process, it's usually like you'll see a breakdown, kind of like you saw in the Facebook group, that Facebook post. And then usually you have to send in what's called like a self-tape, which is you put yourself on camera, maybe asking some questions. Did you have to like bake anything or answer questions?
I did. I forgot about that. So they told me, make your favorite like meal or favorite dessert actually. Sorry, try to bake your favorite dessert that, is close to your culture or something that's family oriented. For me, I did gata, which is nazuk. It's an Armenian like sweetbread, and it's so good. And it's my first time making it. And it was my first time. It looked like fried chicken. It was hilarious.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So that was my audition tape. My mom filmed me on my iPhone, legit, and like I was all glam. I'm like, I'm not gonna look like a mess in the kitchen. Like my food might look like a mess. I still have my highlight and my lashes. Like and I sent that over, and they loved it. They're like, okay, like this is great. You really don't know how to bake. Like, I mean, I was real. I'm like, I'm not making this up. Like, some of these utensils I had never used before. Like, I'm like, what is this? I was not familiar with my own kitchen, actually. I'm not joking. Like, I just was not.
Oh my God. I love it. I cannot wait to dig into this interview because there's so much that I want to ask you about because that's so foreign to me. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I told my mom too the other day. I was laughing. The first time I ever used a KitchenAid mixer was on national TV on Food Network. Like, how embarrassing is that, right? Like, I really did not know what the hell I was doing. I had my mirror and lip gloss though, so I was at least touching up.
God bless. Oh, no wonder they cast you. You are so perfect. This is incredible. Okay, well, before we get too much further along, because certainly I know we will be revisiting the Food Network topic, but let's jump into our first segment of the day. So every episode, by now, our listeners are used to me asking the same question, which is, Louisa, do you remember the first food you ever tasted?
Oh my God. I had to think about this, and I went really back. And it took me back to our first apartment here in Los Angeles when I'm born here, but it was, in Glendale. I still live in Glendale, a small apartment, and I was probably 6 years old. It's so funny how it's so weird. It's like, and the thing is, like, I'm surprised. I thought it would be some kind of Middle Eastern food or like, some kind of Armenian kebab or something.
Yeah.
But like, kebab, born with a kebab in your mouth. But no, It's something called gogli. It's so
Gogli.
crazy.
What's gogli?
Do you know meringue? Like I guess I googled it to give you the right term. Do you know meringue? It's just egg.
Yeah, like the meringue cookie. It's at whipped up egg whites. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But my mom would make this own concoction of hers. It was the yolk
Okay.
in white, like in sugar, whipped, and then with some bread and chocolate powder in there.
The yolk. So it's like a different texture, maybe.
Yes. So it's a thicker texture. So it's the yolk, it's sugar, it's some cocoa powder and an Armenian bread kind of like blended, kind of like a thick smoothie. And I remember her making it in this white mug with a blue handle. Like I remember
See,
that.
you remember these crazy things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember being in the living room and her just feeding it to me while I was doing some stuff. I don't know what, but that's what I remember. I remember the egg taste and the bread in my mouth.
Is that dish googly? Is that right? Googly?
So my mom said it's called gogli,
Oh,
like
gogly.
Gogli, and I really tried to YouTube it. I'm like, Mom, is that Russian? I think it has a Soviet influence thing with it,
Okay,
like
okay.
Russian, Armenian mixture. Maybe that's like the slang way to say it. So I tried Googling it and I came up with the meringue
Oh,
meringue.
wow. I thought it was maybe like her special name for this dish, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Gogli. Wow.
Gogli. Yeah. It's
I
so crazy.
That's so specific, and I love you kind of touched on this thing, which is the things that we associate with it are so specific. Like I remember the mug and I remember where I was. And
Yeah.
you've mentioned your mom a couple of times now. Was she, it sounds like she was the main cook of the house?
She still is, girl.
So do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have an older brother who is married with 2 kids. So I
Yeah.
have 2 nephews.
Is he as bad of a cook as you are?
I actually, on the contrary, my brother actually has a very great palate.
Ooh.
If I might say that, like a nice palate. He knows how to make his Armenian barbecue. He's very particular with food. I always remember growing up, he would never eat leftovers.
Oh, leftovers are the best.
Right. I love leftovers, especially microwaving my salads like the second day. Don't ask. I just like to microwave my salads.
Wait, what? Microwaving your salad?
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
crime.
Yes. Like for some reason, when I bring it home from the restaurant, I love soggy salad and soggy pasta. It has to go in the microwave and then I eat it.
What
I know.
oh, Louisa, I don't know how to process this.
I think after culinary school, a lot's gonna change, girl.
I know. I can't wait to get into that too. But okay, so your mom was the cook. I feel like
Yes.
if your brother's older, he probably had a little bit more, exposure to the.
Just like a year and a half older,
Mhm.
but he has always been opinionated with food. Like he would always ask my mom, is that fresh? Or like, I don't like how this is, or this needs salt. Oh my God. In Armenian families, you could never have enough salt or black pepper. Like
Salt or black
making it rain,
pepper. Oh my
girl.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So what kind of foods do you remember eating when you were growing up? I mean, as you got older and, can start remembering dishes.
I have to say the same as now. The chikufta, the raw meat. I always say it's like Armenian steak tartare.
Mhm.
Chikufta, lentil kufta. It's like the yellow kufta individually. A lot of like meatball soup. A lot of that. Like always, that was like a must. Twice a week, 3 times a week. Because like my mom would always say, that's so you guys won't be constipated. You have to eat soup.
What a good mama.
Right? And then a lot of hummus, the chickpea spread that you can spread on anything, whether it's pita bread or an apple or on a burger.
I'm with you.
Literally the staple. That's like a staple in every Armenian's house. So is tabbouleh,
Mhm.
and each it's made of bulgur. So just a lot of rices, a lot of different beefs and like lambs. Like we're big on lamb too. Oh my God.
When you were growing up, did you have now I know this because I used to live in Glendale. That
Oh my God, I
Glendale
did not know that.
I did. Yeah. I lived there a couple years ago. But I remember that it was like the Armenian capital of Los Angeles. So there was a lot of
Yes.
Armenian great food in Glendale. So
Yes.
when you were growing up, my experiences growing up in Virginia, the lunches that we would see in the lunchroom were like as a white bread standard as you get.
Oh,
Did you ever catch any flack for having like different lunches or interesting lunches as a school kid?
kind of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah. It's okay, honey, I make lamb.
Yeah, when you know when she was younger, she would go to school and everyone was eating like the Wonder Bread and grilled cheese, and she had like her Greek soup.
Yes.
You know, I don't think so because all of my friends and all of like my classmates, we were all Armenian. So it's like, you know, I went to John Marshall kindergarten and then Roosevelt Middle School and then Glendale High. It was like all Armenians. And on the weekends, we would go to Carousel Restaurant, which is
Love Carousel. Yes.
which is also like a Kardashian favorite. Like they love the Hollywood, the original one. I go to the one in Glendale. But like it was such a cultural thing where it's like like even our church groups and stuff, it was so like big and like culture was so important that every weekend like we would still eat the same thing. Like even till this day, I still eat the same like the lahmacun like on Saturday and Sunday. Like you know it's like Armenian pizza.
I don't know lahmacun. I've never
It's like this beef pie kind of we like to say. It's like a flatbread with beef on it with garlic. It's kind of like Armenian pizza. Yeah.
Sounds good. Everything you're saying sounds amazing.
And it's like, you know, LA being the second largest Armenian population outside of Armenia.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yes, girl. And so it's LA and then it's Boston and then it's Fresno. So those top three places are like, it's all Armenian. So for me, I never felt like excluded. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into the food of the day, and we kept this kind of broad because I say Middle Eastern food.
Yeah.
But can you kind of actually talk about is Armenian food Middle Eastern food, and kind of is there a specific Armenian food? What is Armenian food to you?
You know, it's funny you say that because Armenian food or Middle Eastern food is such a big umbrella. And till this day, there's so many conflicts about that because like when someone says kebab, someone thinks, oh, you know, that's Greek or that's Syrian or like that's Persian or like that's, you know what I mean? And then like someone that maybe was born in Armenia will come out and say, oh my God, no, that's from my little county back home. So till this day, there is no specific answer because of the big umbrella, but there are two types of food that is specifically Armenian, which is the dolma.
Yeah.
The stuffed grape leaves, like that's like authentic Armenian food. And there's also the harissa. We say harissa, which is basically like a thick porridge made with lamb and like cracks of like little wheat.
Yeah, I've had that. I love it.
Oh, it's so good. And like, of course, the traditional Armenian barbecue. Have you had Armenian barbecue?
No, I haven't.
Oh
I haven't.
My God,
you have to, when this COVID lifts, I'm coming over, sister.
You need to come over. So that's probably the number one unique way that like Armenians can represent their culture because of the Armenian barbecue, but because we make it all on like skewers. Like we get the pork or it's the lamb or whatever it is, and we place it on skewers and we make it on open fire. And it's called mangal. But if you spell it, it's yeah, well, we say you could in English. I guess mangal, like mangal.
Yeah.
But in Armenian, it's mangal.
It's the
like
We have that in Hebrew.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's made on open fire, and we marinate the meat a bit with salt and pepper or like red pepper. We let it like sit like that for 20 minutes. And then we work it all over the open fire, and then we serve it with lavash. Have you had lavash? It's Armenian
is
bread.
Like the puffy bread.
It's kind of flat.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing, girl.
The puffy one is, oh my God, matnakash or barbari.
I'm gonna have to phonetically get you to spell all these. I think I know so much about. I'm so glad you're kind of breaking it down for me because I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have been able to identify these. I wouldn't have been able to say, oh, this is an Armenian dish. And these are very specifically Armenian dishes.
Yeah, some are specific. Like, but then some are so general. Like, if you say kebab, you know, like mini kebab or shish kebab. Like, if you go to Rafi's, so they serve like the best chicken kebabs there. Just everything's amazing there. And they serve it with pilaf. They serve it with their yellow rice. So that's a Persian place, right? It's a Persian influenced restaurant. But like, we still say kebab is Armenian. You know what I mean? Like, the umbrella is so big, so it's hard to even answer, kind of.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about one of the dishes I'd love to break down each of those sort of dishes that you talked about. But I know the dolmas kind of made you famous because I've seen some clips of you on Worst Cooks in America trying to make those dolmas. Tell, tell me,
Girl.
let's talk about what the recipe for dolmas and your experience making them on the Food Network show.
Yeah, of course. So with dolma, it's very specific. It's not a lot. You need your grape leaves,
Okay.
which you can buy from any kind of market, like those big markets, whether it's like Jones or like do you know Armenian markets? You probably don't. So if I say the names, you probably might not know it. But like,
But like anywhere in the world, people, even if they're not LA, you can go to the market and get grape
oh
leaves like
yeah.
canned, right? You can get.
Oh, so it's canned, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, and the thing is, with especially on the episode, which is hilarious, mine were stuck.
I
Mine
loved.
stuck. And I'm like, did they curse me? Like, what the hell is this? It's so embarrassing. Like, I couldn't even get out the grape leaves. And then Anne came to help me, Chef Anne Durrell. But for dolma, yeah, you need your ground beef and you need some salt, some pepper. You need some
That classic Armenian salt and pepper.
tomato paste. Yeah, you need your tomato paste. And then you get some red pepper. Is it Aleppo pepper? I don't remember. Don't quote me. I'm new to this food world, but like it's one of those. You make your michuk. I say michuk, which is the filling.
Okay.
In Armenian, michuk means like filling,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of have to knead it a bit and make sure it's like nice and like thick, and
Mixed.
then you place it on like the flat leaf, and then you roll it, and then you cook it on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's so funny. I took my mom's rock with me. Like my mom has a rock. I don't know if you saw the episode, but like my producer was like, she was cracking up. She was like, Louisa, what is this? I'm like, my mom uses this rock to cook the dolma. And it's very common in my Armenian culture. Basically, on the pot, you put like a ceramic plate.
Okay.
And you put a rock on the plate to keep the dolmas in place when it's cooking. Basically, it cooks while it's nicely like fitted together.
So this way, let's, because for people who didn't see the episode, it's a rock, just like a rock that you would find out in the world.
You could find it on the street somewhere if you want. Like, of course you should wash it and stuff, but something heavy.
Yeah.
Like I think there are some stores who probably do sell specific like heavy objects like that to like keep it in place, but we don't only use it for dolma. When we do pickled vegetables, like for like during the winter. Winter is coming. But like during the winter, like us Armenians, Armenians, we get a big bucket, like a huge bucket, and not all Armenians do this, but like my family does. We always put a lot of salt in there and we marinate all of the vegetables and stuff because in a few months it's going to be like pickled and it's really good. And again, my mom takes out her wok and she places it on the plate and it's like out there for a few months in your backyard. It's hilarious.
Wow. Okay, so it's almost like, and forgive the expression, but it's almost just kind of like a paperweight. Like it holds down the plate to keep from steam escaping or to keep the. Okay, cool.
It keeps everything together in that house with the juices, basically.
In the juice house. And so you brought your mom's special rock. I'm sure it had some emotional, ties to it too.
It's funny because like it's with me at home right now on my vanity. I look at it every day. I'm like, me and my mom made it on the Food Network.
Oh,
so I cherish that. Yeah.
I love you are such a character in the kitchen. I mean, I know you probably can't quite exactly remember how everything that you were feeling at the time, but do you remember like were you nervous or what was it like when you were actually in production with cameras on? What did you feel when you were going through that show and making something like Dolmas probably for the first time on TV?
Probably the second time that I ever had done it. And, the first time was with my mom like months prior. And because when I was approached to go on the show, it was really last minute. Yeah. Like I had no time to prep. It's like, this is it, you're going oh my God. And that day was hilarious because I was hosting a gala here in LA for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I had found out 3 days prior that I was going. So like I did this show and I flew to New York overnight. It was like, anyway, but making the dolma alone, I had pressure because I wanted to impress my Armenian people back home. I also really wanted Chef Alex Guarnacelli to really like, take me seriously. Like I love her. That woman changed my life. Oh. And I know she looked at me and she's like, I know you think you're the cute, funny one, but I know you can cook, kind of like that. Yes. Like she would always bother me. So in my mind, I'm like, Louisa, you can do this. Get the steps down. But also at the same time, I didn't feel that much pressure because it is a show where people come to learn.
Right,
So,
right.
we're called worst cooks for a reason. So that's why I felt like I could be myself. And if I'm goofy and I say something dumb, then whatever.
I mean, being underprepared for a show like that is probably the best way to go
That
into it. And I know that you told me just in our conversations that it was your last run on Worst Cooks in America that inspired you to go to culinary school.
Girl, oh my God, yes. I mean, okay, so obviously with Worst Bakers, I was eliminated very quick, like second episode, and I realized, okay, baking is hard. You really have to follow everything to the T.
It's
It's very
science. It's science.
science. It's very ingredient measurement driven, and you can't be that creative. So I'm like, screw that.
Yeah.
So with cooking, when I came home, and I don't know if everyone saw the episode or if you did, but I made it to, I think, I the top three of Team Blue, which I was very impressed. Girl,
Yeah.
I never in a million years did I ever think I would ever in my life even be on the Food Network or like start my career on the Food Network, but let alone make it that far in a competition cooking because
Yeah.
I don't cook. And every week that went by and I'm like, I was safe. I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? So,
I think it might be helpful for people who haven't seen either of these shows. Can you tell me what the rules are for like what's the objective of the show? Like, how do you advance from show to show?
the show basically is, I know it's called Worst Cooks in America, but basically who progresses well wins the $25,000. So every week we are given challenges or however long you're there. We have like our challenge meals. We have our skill drill games. So it's very fun too, but there's like the dishes that like, those are the ones that will send you home if you don't complete.
Yeah.
So they give us demos and we have to try to do the same thing our chef does. So whoever basically doesn't improve goes home.
Okay, got it.
So
Yeah.
whoever still stays bad basically goes home.
Yeah.
Whoever improves gets to stay. And at the end, the finalists from each team, Team Red or Blue, go head to head. They actually have to make 3-course meals for 3 different judges. So this one, Alex and Anne did not judge. They actually invite different judges or culinary experts. You don't always have to be a chef, but you can be a very seasoned cook. You can be a restaurant owner, all of that. And they have to taste your food, the 3 courses, without knowing who is who. Like,
Yeah, blind test. Mm-hmm.
And then they get to choose the winner like that. So those are the basic rules.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so yeah, so really, I mean, we're jokingly like saying, "Oh, you're a bad cook," but you're so not because making it to the top 3, I mean,
girl,
that's really hard to do without a camera crew around you, without, being in full makeup. Like that's really hard.
I always say if for these shows, if you don't have any kind of foundation, a minimal foundation of cooking some stuff, like it's going to be hard for you to really like go to the next step. I think the food gods are with me. And I think with me is because I've seen my mom do it in the kitchen a lot. I was like naturally like immune to it where it's like, oh, okay, you know what? Like one episode we made sausages from scratch.
Oh God.
I'm not kidding you. My mom and dad make Armenian sausages every year for Christmas.
Oh, you're so lucky.
I'm like, Chef Alex, are you serious?
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I use like the visual. I'm like, okay, you know this, like because I would document at home. I'm a social media girl, so
yeah.
I wouldn't cook it, but I would film them cook it. Like I would document the whole thing. So I'm like, I know this. So a lot of things were just me doing it, but I had a lot of visuals in my mind, so
totally.
That's why I think that's what really helped me get through for sure.
Is it one of those shows where you were allowed to like call your mom and be like, I'm freaking out, what do I do? Or
No,
you're totally locked off?
They're very strict, girl. They take your phone, they take your laptop. You can't do shit, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
And that's like the most fun sometimes because it's beautiful to be sometimes that excluded.
Isn't it?
It's funny because we were all in quarantine before quarantine anyway. They're very strict. We can't go anywhere. We can't socialize. We sign contracts, NDAs. We can't say anything or we will be sued. It's very, very serious. Like we go to work, we do our filming, we come back to the hotel and we sleep.
Yeah.
And we only socialize with our cast, which turns into your family.
I was going to say, you must have to really like those people.
Oh my God. With worst bakers, I wasn't there long enough. So we're still cool, but man, worst cooks,
You guys are like family now?
they are amazing. Girl, we are so connected.
You can't go through an experience like that and not bond. I mean, it's like such a dream experience for so many people, and you guys got to live this very unique experience together.
Because out of thousands of people, us 14, we made it. Like a lot of people like sign up for the show, and not a lot of people get chosen. So it's like we knew how lucky we were, and like, oh, some of them had families, some of them had children, so it was a nice little getaway for all of us.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I think I actually cut you off because I think you were right about to explain to me what inspired you to go to culinary school.
It's funny, like after making it each week on the show, I'm like, dude, I think I'm just naturally such a good cook. Like, I'm like, I love this. My mom's gonna be so proud of me and all of that. So like when I got eliminated, Chef Alex said, "You are a great cook." She's like,
Yay.
"Go home and start." Well, she didn't like really say great cook, but she's like, "Go home and start cooking." She's like, "Go home and start cooking with your mom. You have so much history and story, and like Middle Eastern food is so rich and everything. People love that. People love stories like that." And like I took that to heart, and she's like, "Start your channel, start cooking at home, start practicing." And I'm like, you know what? Like, I think I'm onto something, because I was so afraid of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So when I came back home, I remember when I came back and my parents picked me up, I came home. My mom was making me lamb that night, like she roasted some
Oh.
lamb, and I started crying because I missed Chef Alex so much. I'm like,
Oh.
because she gave me the confidence. She really motivated me while I was there. She's like, "You can do this. Like, this is
Yeah.
not hard." And she showed me that cooking can be so simple. And she's like, "Don't worry about plating everything so nice." She's like, "Some dishes have to look messy. They have to look full of life." You know what I mean?
Think about the best dishes you've ever had. I mean, some of the most delicious things I've ever eaten look absolutely not appealing.
And that's so true. And I'm beginning to learn all that. So I'm like, you know what? What can I do? I'm like, let's think. First of all, quarantine is happening right now. Like the world is in such a stop. So it's like, what can I do to make my time productive? But also, like, when I go back to ever compete on a show, what can I do to possibly win? I'm like, if I'm going to take this seriously and I'm already a blank slate, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to go to culinary school.
You're living out like two of my dreams here, which is going to culinary school and being on Food Network.
No idea.
Oh yeah. Well, but what you touched on is so true. It's like it's intimidating for a lot of people to be in the kitchen, to cook, to be, in this space, because I think you can probably speak to this more than I can, but chefs have to have confidence. I mean, that's like a key. And sometimes, we see a lot, it's kind of like a stereotypical chef's behavior that they're, like to the extreme, like conceited or
Oh
cocky or,
yeah, which they're amazing to learn from. But I'm like, wow, I can be the next Armenian Food Network star to represent Armenia, and it's such an amazing type of food that we have, and it's so wanted all over the world. And I feel like that's why the Food Network really did welcome me. They loved my story, they loved my culture, and they loved the food. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this.
Yeah, I feel like particularly Middle Eastern food is such a huge part of the culture.
Oh, it's everything.
Yeah, you could say that about a lot of cultures, but I feel it particularly with Middle Eastern food. So I think it's really wonderful that you're embracing it and your experience and kind of marrying it all together. I can't wait to hear your tales from culinary school. I know that you started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Tell me about that journey. And your first recipe was
Yes. Chikufta.
shikufta.
Chikufta. It's funny. There's one more thing I do want to add about culinary school, and this is how I knew it was the right sign, like right decision. So it's the same school that Alex Cornishelli used to teach at.
Oh my gosh! Wait, where
Yeah.
in LA?
So she taught the one in New York,
Okay.
Institute of Culinary Education, and I'm going to the one in Pasadena, and it's actually rated the best in America. It's a very good school. Yeah, I'm so excited.
That is amazing.
And one more thing that's actually kind of like intimidating, and I'm kind of scared, but like when you graduate, you don't fully graduate until you do a 200-hour externship at a restaurant of your choice, working in the kitchen.
Oh, sister.
So I'm really ready for that. And you know what's so funny? Because just because you go to culinary school doesn't mean you're a chef. Because I think there's this thing called kitchen brigade or something like that. There's levels obviously to
Yeah,
everything.
and that title is very, respected chef. Like it's like doctor. It's like calling yourself a doctor before you're a
Yeah.
doctor.
So and the thing I know that. So it's baby steps for me. Like I'm gonna see where this goes, you know?
I'm so excited to hear you talk about all these food people that, that you love, and now you are intimately a part of that circle. You are in.
I have goosebumps. I never thought ever. Like I remember my first hosting instructor years ago said, "You actually don't know where you're gonna get your big break. Sometimes it can be from cars, it can be from makeup, from like real estate. Working talent. Like they don't know. And I guess Food Network was my calling. Who knew?
Well, and you, I mean, you said it earlier in the interview, but not filtering yourself, and by just being exactly who you are, you got to find your break because it was there all along and you just got to show up as you. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that. I think that's so inspiring for everybody, no matter what profession
Oh,
you're in. But it's so cool. I love watching along. I'm like, I know
especially.
her.
But yeah, about my YouTube channel. So it's called Louisa Cooks.
Hmm.
And it's funny because it was on my mind for a long time to launch it. It was actually after I came back from Baker's, I'm like, I should do something, but something didn't really push me. But then when Food Network came around again, I'm like, this is the universe. I'm like, you jump on this and do something with it.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn how to cook something that's so precious to your Armenian culture. Like, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you, So for now, the concept is my mom is behind the scenes. She's telling me what to do
Hmm.
because like she is like the chef, and she's like kind of telling me step by step what to do. And it's funny because she doesn't want to be on camera yet. So, and the feedback I've gotten is they love how she's kind of behind the scenes.
She's like the God voice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
hilarious. So I was making chikufta, which is basically raw meat
Hmm.
mixed in with different spices. And what is the ingredient? I got the recipe. What is it? I mean,
You gotta record this on your channel. What am I making again? What's that ingredient? Well, I know people can go to your YouTube channel and actually watch the whole video. It's you. It's delightful. You're there, and you are a good cook.
you know what? My mom always says, and she says it in Armenian. It's phrase in Armenian. She's like, "Kozerki hama lavna." And if I have to translate into English word to word, it would be, "The taste of your hand is good." Like it's like this saying. She's like, whether you try or not, like you're good. And I feel like, dude, I'm not even trying, and I'm good. Like, and I'm trusting, I'm not good. I'm paranoid in the kitchen. Like I was trying to make steak a few days ago. I overly salted it and I was so upset at myself. Like,
You gotta learn. You gotta make the mistakes and learn so that next time you go, oh nope, can't do that.
yeah, for sure. And like, that's why I'm like, I want to know the basics, like chopping an onion and like slicing tomatoes and all of that. I don't know any of that.
Yeah. So can I ask you really quickly about shikufta for what you can remember? Is it always
Yeah.
a certain type of meat, or is it beef, or can it be
No,
any
it's ground beef,
ground
but
beef?
it's raw. It's raw.
Yeah. Does it need any kind of like citrus or egg in it, like a steak tartare?
Basically, it's the meat and the green parsley and sliced tomatoes are on it as the topping because
Mhm.
it's like raw. But some people, like my family, we make ground beef in the pan and we actually dip the raw meat inside the ground beef and we eat it like that as well.
Oh, yum.
And
That sounds good.
it's mixed with red Aleppo pepper, some cumin, some salt, and when you knead it, you basically knead it and you make it into small little squishes.
Hmm.
You always have to hydrate, like you always have to dip your fingers in water and knead it again. And some people like serve it flat or like individually, like dumplings.
Little dumplings. And is the kneading it, is that just so that it's like tender to eat? Like how you have to massage kale first? Is it kind of like that?
Yes, kind of like that. You want it to be kind of pasty and thick. Oh yeah, bulgur. That's what it needs. Duh. So embarrassing. Like, you know what? I wear my title very well. Worst Cooks in America. You guys can't see me. Sorry. Okay.
I think you're so smart to be authentically yourself because I'm not a cook and I don't want to be a cook. I love cooking but I really love eating. And
Oh, I get
so
it. I get it.
I love talking to people about food, but I don't want to be the person that's serving you your meal in a restaurant. I want now if you're coming over to my house or if you're coming out to hang with me, I'm going to feed you. I
Yeah.
will feed you
Yeah.
if we're meeting up for a work meeting. I'm
Of
like
course.
the Jewish mother that's like, come on
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
eat this,
yeah,
eat
yeah,
this, eat
yeah.
this. So I love food because it's my love language. That's how I tell
Yeah.
people I care about
Oh
you.
my
You're welcome. You're
God.
safe. What it means to me to be in the kitchen is like lifeblood. Like this is sustaining you. I'm giving you the things that you need to live, and it's through the actual food, and it's through the emotional support that comes through that. But so I always think of like it's such an important job to be the person that's cooking for your family or feeding your family. And I think that women take that on a lot.
It's so beautiful because even like in the Middle Eastern culture, it's like we live with food, but we also die with food. That sounds really harsh, but like when someone passes, we gather and we eat traditional types of food when someone passes versus we eat different things when someone, gets married. So food is always there. And like with me growing up, even now, like I cherish the moments that my mom and dad are in the kitchen making sausage
Yeah.
because like years down the line, that's memories I will have in my heart. And like the Food Network wanted a picture of them and they featured them in the show. I'm like,
Oh.
this is such a gift for them. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
they love that because we all have stories about food. The first time your mom taught you something, or like your favorite plate your grandma makes. Like it's all about human connection.
Yeah. So, if you could have anything in the world for dinner tonight with any
Oh,
person in the world from anywhere in the world, do you know what you'd have?
yes. This is gonna be kind of bougie, but like I have to say.
I mean, you have to bring the bougie. Like our Armenian princess has to bring a bougie dish. What would
The
it be?
Kardashian has to be the bougie. Have you been to Il Pascayo in Beverly Hills?
Just walking past that restaurant 2 nights ago, it was a paparazzi whole showdown because one of Kim Kardashian's best friends was eating there.
Oh yeah, yeah, Rodeo Drive. But I would love to have their truffle pasta tonight at my house.
Oof.
Like that would be amazing. If I were to have dinner tonight, I think I would have that.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to have gotten time with you today. I know you're incredibly busy now with
Oh,
your full-time job and all the Food Network stuff and becoming, enrolling in culinary school.
yes.
So
Yeah.
tell the people where they can find you, where they can find all your upcoming recipes and your culinary adventures up ahead.
Of course. So follow me on Instagram. I'm, the most active there at Louisa Sharamatyan. Long Armenian last name. I know it's LOUISA SHARAMATYAN. But I'm sure Ashley will tag me, so you'll know.
I sure will. Everything will be down below in the show notes. And of course, we'll tag you, Mama.
Perfect. And then Twitter, I'm not that active, but you can follow me. It's Lou Sharmatian. They just didn't have enough room for my credits, so it's like my name is sliced in half. And then, of course, on YouTube at Louisa Cooks. It's a new channel, so please subscribe, follow, share my YouTube video, and comment on under there. I would really appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. Well, I've already left some comments on that video and I can't wait to see your
Yay!
next video. I know how hard it is. So I give you mad respect for
Oh
for
my
making the
god!
videos and doing the dang thing. It's so exciting.
Oh, thanks, Ashley. Thanks for supporting me and inviting me to this awesome podcast.
Okay, it's that time in the program where we get to hear from you all, our listeners.
Hi, Ashley. This is Carrie, and I was compelled to call because popovers. Oh my gosh, popovers. My great memory of popovers is at Neiman Marcus department store. When you go for lunch or brunch, they serve to you their wonderful popovers, always served warm. And I know because they take like an hour to cook, they have well stocked because they're not allowed to run out. Anybody orders them, they have to come warm to your plate, and you can have as many as you want. It's like how people serve bread. And they serve this wonderful jam. I think it's a strawberry jam and sea salt butter. Oh, I'm salivating just thinking about it. So it was always a treat to go to the Neiman Marcus dining room. I've been to several, and the popovers are always wonderful.
how cool is that? I had no idea that Neiman Marcus served popovers, right? And had you guys ever heard of that? So cool. Well, thank you for sharing your stories with me. I told you at the top of the show how much it means, and I really hope to hear some more stories, so don't be shy. Call that line or drop us an email if you want to call. Again, the number is 626-709-6551. All right, that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I want you to get excited for next week's episode. We have Elaine Trong from Mandarin Gourmet on to talk to us all about Chinese food. And you guys, if you've ever been to Hong Kong, or if you've ever wanted to go to Hong Kong, do not miss this episode. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss it. And we'll see you right back here for the next episode.